It's safe to say Erling Haaland has been a hot topic for the past few years, even more so since joining Manchester City. He scores goals for fun and even has a petition out for him to be banned from the Premier League, with some fans claiming he's a robot and that it's just not fair. Today we bring you Haaland's transformation from boy to beast, and tell you the story of how he became the world's best striker. Stick around as we prove the Haaland robot theory wrong, and although he showed some pretty insane abilities at a young age, we still say that he's human, right? Childhood stories. The Norwegian machine was actually born in England.
What?
You might not believe it, but Erling Haaland was born in West Yorkshire. His father, Alfie, was playing for Leeds United in the Premier League at the time, and when his dad wasn't starting fights with Roy Keane, he was playing football with Erling in the back garden. He spent his first few years in England, but at the age of 3, Haaland moved to Brighton. It was the symbolic town in which his parents had both grown up. With a professional footballer as a father, it's no surprise that Haaland started scoring goals at a very young age. But alongside football, he would often take part in other sports too. Haaland partook in the likes of handball, golf, and track and field. He reportedly set a new world record in his age group when he was 5. Haaland clocked in a distance of 1.63 meters in the standing long jump, a score that had never been beaten in the world for someone that young. And by the way, that record is still unbeaten. It didn't take long for Haaland to get involved with football at an academy level, and months later he got going. Academy life and debut. Haaland started in the Brighton Academy at the age of 5. He worked under youth coach Bjarne Berntsen. It was clear from the beginning that Haaland was something special. His coaches ranted and raved about him, and he was fast-tracked through the system. Aged 15, he was already called up to the Brighton reserve team. Haaland made his debut as soon as he was old enough to be allowed to. He impressed for Brighton too in the 2015-16 season, and he had goals to back it up. Haaland scored 18 goals in just 14 matches, and then in May 2016 he was already too good for reserve football. Brighton's first team manager was sacked and youth coach Berntsen was appointed caretaker. Having worked closely with Haaland in the academy, the interim manager gave him his first senior start. He was still only 15 at this point. While he was way too good for the academy, Haaland hadn't quite hit his stride yet. He made 16 senior appearances for Brighton, but scored 0 goals. Haaland was actually being played as a winger at that point, a player that big and bulky on the wing. It should have been obvious that he'd be a great target man. Berntsen did then deploy Haaland as a lone striker later on, and while he failed to score any goals, he did catch foreign eyes throughout Europe. A whole host of big sides tried to tap him up. German club Hoffenheim offered him a trial at the end of the season, but it was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer who offered a domestic deal too good to turn down. Mulder-ing himself. In February 2017, Mulder announced the signing of 16-year-old Erling Haaland. The Norwegian giants snapped him up for an undisclosed fee. Mulder manager Solskjaer was delighted to have Haaland in his squad. Upon signing him, he said, "Erling is a versatile attacking player, but primarily a great forward talent with many skills in front of goal. He is still young and is a boy we hope to develop into a future top player." Despite compliments from the boss, Haaland was integrated into the first team slowly. Recurring injury issues meant that they didn't want to throw him in the deep end too quickly. He didn't play for his first month at the club as he learned tactics and to build up his fitness. But it wasn't that the manager didn't rate him. In fact, it was quite the opposite. Before Haaland had even made his debut, Solskjaer made a secret phone call to his old club Manchester United to tell them just how good Haaland was. United scouts thought that Haaland would only be useful for his size, but Solskjaer praised his ability on the ball. Perhaps he could have been playing on the other side of Manchester if United had only listened to that phone call. Haaland made his cup debut in late April, where he scored in a 3-2 win against Vulda. He then made his league debut a month later in early June. Haaland came on as a substitute in the 71st minute and immediately stole the headlines. He received a yellow card within a minute of coming on the pitch, and then Haaland scored the winner in the 77th minute, because of course he did. He ran across the pitch and deliberately celebrated the goal in front of the opposition fans, which caused him to receive criticism from some teammates and the Norwegian press. But it didn't stop Haaland, who finished the season with 4 goals in his first 20 appearances for Mulder. It was in 2018 that the Beast announced himself to the world. In July, he bagged 4 goals in the opening 21 minutes against unbeaten league leaders Brann. Brighton were unstoppable at the time, yet Haaland had found a way to tear them down in his 4-0 win. Solskjaer compared Haaland to Romelu Lukaku after the game, and admitted that the club had rejected several transfer offers from bigger European clubs. He was therefore seen as one of the most promising forward talents in world football, and he proved that the hype was worth it. He bagged his first UEFA goal in a 3-0 qualifying victory against KF Lazio. Not wanting to stop there, Haaland finished the season with 12 goals in 25 league appearances. It's not 2022 levels of Haaland, but it was sensational numbers for a 17-year-old to score. The talisman won the Eliteserien Breakthrough of the Year award, and with so much attention coming from abroad, it's no surprise that Haaland's head was eventually turned. Leeds offered him a promotion battle, but he declined their bid. His eyes turned to continental football instead. Taking Europe by storm. In August 2018, Red Bull Salzburg announced the signing of Haaland on a 5-year deal. His new coach, Jesse Marsch, also wanted to slowly introduce him to first-team football. He made just 5 appearances for Red Bull Salzburg in the second half of the 2018-19 season. But once the next campaign started, Haaland began to feast. In July, he scored his first hat-trick in a 7-1 cup win. 2 weeks later in August, he bagged another one and put 3 past Wolfsberger AC. Salzburg were dominating the Austrian Bundesliga. In just 9 appearances, he scored 17 goals, which included a ridiculous 4 hat-tricks. He had taken domestic football by storm, and now he had to do the same with the Champions League. As reigning Austrian Bundesliga champs, Salzburg were drawn into Group E. They would play against Genk, Napoli and Liverpool. Fast forward to September, and Haaland made his Champions League debut against Genk. His sensational form continued, and he scored yet another hat-trick in a 6-2 home win. Haaland was beginning to attract admirers across Europe, not only for his on-pitch antics, but also for his no-nonsense approach to post-match media. In his next 2 Champions League games, Haaland netted 1 against Liverpool and 2 against Napoli. It made him the second teenager to ever score in each of his first 3 appearances. And then he tapped home a penalty against Napoli in the reverse fixture, which made him the first teenager to score in his first 4 games. He then came off the bench against Genk in the game after, still managing to steal a goal himself. It made him the 6th player of any age to score in 5 consecutive matches in the competition. But in the only game he failed to score in, Salzburg fell short to Liverpool in a 2-0 loss. They were knocked out of the competition in what would end up being Haaland's final game for the club. He scored a remarkable 29 goals in 27 appearances across all competitions. Understandably, form like this had half of Europe calling. Manchester United were favourites to sign Haaland, but the striker's mentality was mature way beyond his age. He wanted to develop further elsewhere before playing in England or Spain. Haaland ended up switching to Borussia Dortmund for a fee of 17 million, and the rest is modern history. He scored a groundbreaking 62 league goals in 67 appearances. It of course ended up with a move to the Premier League, where Haaland is dominating for Manchester City. But the only thing more impressive than his transfer to England is his international career. Leading by example. Haaland has played for Norway at almost every age group possible. He started with their under-15s and ended up all the way up to the senior side. Combining all of his youth appearances, Haaland scored 30 goals in 46 games. Sounds great, right?
Okay.
The crazy thing is that almost a third of those were scored in just 1 game. Aged 18 in the Under-20s World Cup, Norway played against Honduras. Haaland scored 9 goals in a 12-0 win for his country. Even with such a crazy result in the bag, Norway were knocked out in the group stage, but Haaland still won the Golden Boot. He was given his first senior call-up in August 2019, but made his debut the following month as a 19-year-old in a qualifier. He had already been at Dortmund for 9 months at this point, and it's easy to forget that Haaland was still a teenager. Almost a year later, he scored his first senior goal in a 2-1 loss to Austria. Just a month later, he had an international hat-trick after bagging 3 against Romania. He now has 21 goals in 23 games for his nation.